All right, Mr. President, you have it. It's on, it's live. We're ready.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:02. The public can watch this meeting via Zoom. I'd like to ask that we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will lead. Thank you. I pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'd like to thank you. I want to thank everybody for watching this meeting. As taxpayers have told us that they do not want a 0% tax increase and they wanted us to raise taxes. So tonight's meeting is to explain where the increases are going, and I encourage everyone to exercise their right and responsibility to vote on Thursday at our all-day referendum. Thank you. With that being said, I would like to introduce tonight's moderator, Mr. Ed Inman. Mr. Inman, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'll go over the ground rules for this evening. All questions will be directly through the moderator, which is myself. All questions must be related to the budget and budget-related issues. There is a 3-minute time limit for registered voters. Individuals may speak again if other people have had the opportunity to speak. I just want to let everybody know, though, if it gets into its redundancy and repetition, I'm going to shorten that time frame a little bit if it's the same point over and over again. All people present must maintain the decorum of the online discussion. Everybody will have an opportunity to vote on October 22nd, 2020, if you're a registered voter in Coventry. No voting will take place this evening per Home Rule Charter, which was passed in November of 2018. At this time, I'd like to call on the town manager for his presentation. If you would proceed, Mr. Wazzy.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to keep this short and sweet this evening. I'm going to explain where the additional funds are, the total amount of the budget, the tax rate, and that's going to be it. I'm hoping to take 5 to 10 minutes tops. The total budget, as proposed and accepted by and recommended by the council, is $110,041,474. Of that, $30,082,669 is for municipal operations. The school department, they have a town appropriation of $48,961,733 and a total budget of $74,368,736. $5,190,069 is for bond payments, debt service, and then there's also a $400,000 to be appropriated to capital improvements in this budget. This budget is 2.8 exact number, 2.819,264 more than the original proposed budget. This amounts to a 3.86% increase in the levy. The funds, the additional funds that we're recommending on this, $1,883,144 was approved to go to the school department, which was the entire amount that was requested by the school committee. And we have, and the council has recommended and approved that. On the municipal side, there's a $200,000 increase into the, or proposed increase into the capital improvement fund. There's $100,000 increase or set aside for a performance audit, which would be approximately half of the audit. It would begin in this fiscal year and completed the following fiscal year with additional funds coming out of next year's budget. There's also a proposed increase in operations, which would be Parks and Rec, DPW, some retirement funds, and that would amount to $275,000. Salary and payroll increases across the board. There are 4 positions that are recommended in this: one for a tax assessor clerk, one for a floating HR clerk that would float to various departments, one for a human resource, an associate planner, which would be a second associate planner to go in the planning and zoning department, which is getting inundated with development, and also an economic development position, which is so desperately needed in our town. So that amounts to $990-some thousand that would go increase in the town side. That's where all of these funds are going. We're looking at, let me just pull it up so I have the right number in front of me. As far as the tax rate, this proposal would bring the residential rate to $19.80, the tangible to $19.80. The motor vehicle stays at the fixed $18.75, and the commercial would be $23.87. The last year's residential was $22.24, tangible the same, and commercial was $26.81. That's where the current proposed increase would amount to. As I said, all of these line items to cover the breakdown on any of these additional costs will be done and put into the line items of the budget. If this is approved, there was a lot of work to go back and readjust all of these line items. And instead of doing it and not knowing whether or not we need to pull it apart, we've left them out. We put just the full number in for each department, which is online and available to anyone on the town's website. Mr. President, I'm just going to do it for me today. I don't see a need to just keep going over what we've rehashed time and time again.
Thank you. That was 3 minutes and 51 seconds. You did a good job. Superintendent, you're up next. Please proceed.
Is this kind of like beat the clock tonight? Okay.
Yeah, you get an award.
And I'm going to share my screen if it's okay.
Let me set you up to do it.
All right, thanks.
You have it, sir.
All right. I hope I do. Let's see. Bear with me here.
It should be at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to make sure I can get, here we go. I don't know if everybody can see this. This is a presentation that we've done, honestly, since January. But before I start, I just want to quickly, I know I was watching one of the council meetings, and I know you guys really spoke highly about your staff and the work that they were doing during the pandemic. And I'd be remiss if I didn't just thank the school community. These are incredibly challenging times for everybody. And I have to say, in my 35 years of education, I've never been more proud to work with our school community. The students, parents, our staff have just gone above and beyond in the flexibility in keeping that focus on what's in the best interest, all of our employees on what's in the best interest of students and families. And I just want to thank them before I get started. So, and I will try to be very quick with this. Again, it's a presentation that we've shown before. We talk about our cost saving and funding initiatives. We've been over this before, competitive bids to reduce costs, improve efficiencies. The last thing that we did was to lock in savings around the supply of our gas and our electric. We continue through the process, the budgeting process. We worked with our administrators to look at staffing, restructuring, and reductions. Ms. Mandrelli met with every single department head and principal, went through every expense review. And we also looked at aligning our investment in technology, maximizing our E-rate, our contractual obligations. Again, we've renegotiated contracts with the CT, which was approved. We've completed the process with the SRP. We need to bring that forward at the appropriate time. Again, we were asked to do that, and we followed through with that. And then we have significant competitive grant awards that supplement our local and state appropriations. It's over $2 million that we received in the last 14 months. That includes a state pre-K grant, over $1 million over 3 years. Curriculum funding for our ELA curriculum for pre-K in the high school, which is over $500,000. And your Department of Human Services Director, Mr. Robillard, and I collaborated, and we wrote a grant that benefits the entire community for approximately $500,000 on becoming a trauma-informed community. So in the budget process, before we presented this pre-COVID budget, we had to reduce the budget to get to the 1.8 million by 1.5 million. Again, we talked about the contractual changes. We said retirements, $111,000. We had reduced our full-time equivalencies by 8.3, and that was increasing class size, eliminating programs, savings of $731,000. Again, Ms. Mangarelli working with our directors and our principals to reduce line items by $200,000, and that was a $1.5 million reduction. And again, this was based on student need also. So just to summarize our budget request, we are asking for the $1,883,144. It is a 1% increase in our school operating budget expenditures of $986,000. We had a 3.7% decrease in state education aid. We've appropriated a request of capital for $0. And we want to highlight that by statute, we have to put 2% of our operating budget towards maintenance. We didn't meet that last year. It was 1.5%. The 2% this year we don't plan on meeting, which means we're not eligible for a 44% reimbursement on capital outlays. And we know with the failing infrastructure, the old infrastructure that we have, it's important to invest in our maintenance of our buildings. There's a lot of questions asked about, are there FY 2020 savings? We saw the town use those savings to purchase vehicles. Well, we have savings from the remote learning. Remember on March 13th, the governor said that we're going to take a week's vacation. And then we were on remote learning. We didn't get all of our students back, or at least have the opportunity to be in front of teachers until last week, where we brought back our grade 7 to 12 on a hybrid model. So we have approximately $1.2 million savings, and you can see it was through utility consumption, savings and substitutes. We didn't fund spring athletics, class covers, supplies. We were scheduled to get new physical plant vehicles. Many of our vehicles are going to be heading to the junkyard. That'll be a major issue moving forward in the winter. Plowing, transportation, we had savings, significant savings in some other various purchase services. But we are using those savings to respond to our required COVID-19 safety measures, which again are above and beyond the normal operating costs. So year-to-date FY21. So obviously the state has not passed the budget. We've been informed that that will not take place until after the November election. So currently we're receiving, not only are we dealing with the 1/12 of last year's appropriation per month from the local appropriation, but it's 91.7% of our state aid. So we can see that if that continues through the year, that will be another additional reduction of $1.95 million. And at one point, the Department of Education had indicated to Ms. Mangarelli in a meeting and to other directors of finance that we may expect a 10% reduction. No guarantees that that'll take place, but based on what we're receiving now, it looks like it could be close to that if they do not, if they continue with this. Again, we have increased expenditures greater than initially budgeted, and that includes workers' compensation, out-of-district tuition, anticipated increases in staffing. We know to do both a hybrid, and also we've offered distance learning for all of our students, families that chose to. At some point, we may have to increase that staffing. We had a conversation around that today with the high school. Cleaning and facility improvements due to COVID-19. And currently, no funds have been allocated to the town to cover increased costs. It came up at one of the joint meetings about we did not have a COVID budget that had been approved by the school committee. The following meeting, we approved the budget and we forwarded that immediately to Mr. Wazika. And he and I spoke about that just recently about the process for that going before the council. And today we spent over $650 on COVID response and preparation. In terms of PPE coverage, we've brought in substitutes, even though it's not enough. We brought in about 18 daily subs that we split amongst our buildings. We've increased our custodians to meet the new CDC requirements. And just before, so I have here questions, I just want to make a quick statement, is that, I think when Mr. Wazika talked about the appropriation, and, again, I'm not our director of finance, there's good reasons why, but it came up to around the levy is about, increase about $24 a month. That's for like a $320,000 home. Again, I could be off a little bit, but, something I talk to my kids about, and I never forget, is about, and I've mentioned this before, every generation before us has made a sacrifice. And, I just have to look at my family, about my great uncles, and I tell the story all the time. My great grandfather, was a first grade dropout in 1895, worked in a mill, lost his finger. His family, his children, my great uncles fought in World War II. And these are the sacrifices people made. My children's grandfather was in the Korean War. Their great uncle lost his life in the Korean War in the Death March. I have cousins that fought and uncles in Vietnam. And so today, we're talking about sacrifice. We're not talking about the sacrifices that our families had made in the past. We're talking about, for our youth, the sacrifice we're asking people. It's approximately $24 a month. And I just want to reiterate that, because I think if we think long and hard, this community does an excellent job taking care of their seniors. There's a tax freeze. There's a tax appropriation for those that are veterans. There's a tax appropriation for those that have a disability. So I think our community does an excellent job taking care of others. And we're asking now this community to take care of their youth and through this budget process. We've been consistent with it. This is going to meet our contractual, our mandates from the state and federal government. It's going to put our children in a position where they can thrive. Thank you. I know it's more than 3.5 minutes.
No, 10 minutes and 17 seconds. Okay, so we'll open this up to public comment at this time. Mr. Wazika, do we have anybody in the public list?
Well, I can't see that yet. Craig, please unshare your screen.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
Okay. So public comment at this point. Do we have anybody heading the queue?
We do not.
We do not have anybody in the queue.
Oh, we have a winner, Kim S.
Okay, please proceed. Kim.
Kim, please unmute your mic, state your full name, spell your last name, and also give your address for the record, please.
Kim, are you with us? I'm going to give her the courtesy of 30 seconds.
Kim.
No pressure.
Kim S.
The entire town is waiting. No pressure. Okay.
Kimberly.
Okay. Do you have anybody else, Ed, in the queue?
We do not.
Okay, we hear no one else in the queue. Do we have any public official that'd like to make a statement before I close the meeting? Deb Bacon, please proceed.
I don't have a statement. I actually have a question. Am I permitted to ask a question?
Absolutely. You're a counselor. You can
Fantastic.
say whatever you please.
Actually, the question is to Ed. How are we informing the taxpayers of the town about the vote on Thursday? I've had folks ask me, are we getting anything in the mail? Is it going to be an email blast? Or is there going to be something over code red reminding folks?
There currently, we have an ad that will appear in the reminder tomorrow. That's out to everybody. Last FTM's mailer for 20,000 didn't get much of the attention that I had hoped for. So instead of spending that, I decided to hold off on that. I will be putting out a town-wide call to all residents to advise them. It's also been on the website. It's been on Facebook, social media. But we're going to do a phone call tomorrow to remind everyone about it.
Okay, could I also request that we reach out to the local news stations and see if they could report on this?
We could hit 105.5. We could ask them, as well as we'll put out a what do you call it, a press release tomorrow morning advising.
Okay,
and
to see if the local stations will pick it up and report on it. That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the discussion queue, or is there anybody else that has anything to say? Hearing no further discussion at this time, I am going to close the discussion phase of the financial town meeting. The voting phase of the financial town meeting will take place on October 22nd from 7 o'clock in the morning to 8 p.m. Hearing no further discussion, this meeting is closed.
Good night, everyone. Thank you very much for attending tonight.
Good night, Ed.